Elowen, open up!
We know you're in there, Elowen. Open the door. We need to talk.
This is ridiculous! You can't just ignore us!
Elowen, open this door right now!
Mom, your crazy granddaughter won't open the door to us. The children are hysterical. My mom screamed on the phone. She was standing on the porch with my brother and his family, but I kept my promise. When they were gone I saw, well, let's go. My name is Blair Whitlock, and I recently decided I needed to move. I was living in a house right in the city center. And while it was convenient for work, the busy road outside my window and the constantly noisy neighbors were driving me crazy. I wanted peace and quiet somewhere in the suburbs where I could actually relax after work. I called my friend Tamsin, who's a realtor, and asked her to help me find a place. I work as an engineer at a construction company, so I know what to look for in a house, but Tamsin knows the market better than anyone. I want something quiet, I told her. Away from traffic, away from parties, just peaceful. I'll start looking right away, she promised. The very next day, Tamsin called me back. Blair, I found something interesting. It's not exactly what you're looking for, but you need to see this. She sent me a link to a rental listing. When I opened it, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was an ad for my older brother Gavin's house, the same house where he lived with his wife and their 3 kids. The listing had been posted a month ago, which was weird because Gavin had never mentioned anything about moving or renting out his place. I stared at the ad for a few minutes trying to figure out what was going on. Instead of calling Gavin directly, I decided to wait until Saturday. Our family has this tradition of having dinner at our parents' house every Saturday, and Gavin's family never misses it. Saturday came, and I drove over to my parents' place. When I walked in, I could hear my parents and Gavin having an intense conversation in the living room. But the moment they saw me, everyone went completely silent. For the rest of the evening, all the conversations were about safe topics, work, weather, news, nothing personal. Then during dinner, Gavin's wife, Maribel, suddenly brought up something that made everything click into place. Blair, we wanted to let you know that we're going to have some serious repairs starting at our house next week. We need to completely replace all the plumbing and electrical. It's urgent and can't wait. I looked around the table. Mom and Dad were both staring at their plates. How long will the repairs take? Yes. Hard to say, Gavin replied. Could be a few weeks, could be longer. Maribel jumped back in. We were hoping we could stay at your place while it gets sorted out. You have those 2 extra bedrooms just sitting empty. And there it was. The whole plan suddenly made perfect sense. I'm an engineer, Gavin. I work for a construction company. I could come take a look and recommend some good contractors. Gavin and Maribel exchanged glances. That's not necessary, Maribel said quickly. We already have everything arranged. We just need somewhere to stay. Come on, Maribel. There's no need to pretend anymore. I know you're planning to rent out your house to make money, and you want to live in my place for free while you do it. The silence at the table was deafening. Mom finally spoke up. There's nothing wrong with Gavin's plan. Blair, you do have 2 empty bedrooms. I rented that house specifically so I could live alone. Mom, I don't want roommates, especially not 3 kids who are going to destroy any chance of having a quiet home. Those aren't just any children, Mom said, her voice getting louder. Those are your nephews and niece. Family takes care of family. If family takes care of family, then Gavin's family can stay with you and Dad. Dad shook his head. Our place is too small. Gavin leaned forward. Look, Blair, I've already signed a 6-month rental contract with tenants. They're moving in next week. We're coming to your place whether you like it or not. I stood up from the table. We'll see about that. I left without saying another word. As soon as I got home, I called Tamsin. I need you to find me a new place as fast as possible. That quiet suburban house we talked about. I need it now. I actually have the perfect place, she said. I was going to call you tomorrow about it. Can I see it tonight? Let me make some calls. An hour later, Tamsin and I were walking through a beautiful house about 20 minutes outside Havenport, Illinois. It was exactly what I wanted. Peaceful neighborhood, big yard, quiet street. When can I move in? The earliest would be 2 weeks from now. Perfect. I'll take it. I signed the lease that night and put down the deposit. Now, I just had to survive 2 weeks without letting Gavin's family move into my current place. The next Friday, I started quietly packing my things. I didn't tell anyone in my family about the new house. As far as they knew, I was still trapped and would have to accept Gavin's family moving in. Saturday morning at exactly 6 a.m., loud knocking started at my front door. I looked out my bedroom window and saw Gavin, Maribel, and their 3 kids standing on my porch with suitcases and boxes. I didn't answer the door. The knocking got louder and more persistent. Then I started hearing voices. Blair, open up. We know you're in there. This is ridiculous. You can't just ignore us. The noise was loud enough to wake up half the neighborhood. I saw curtains moving in windows across the street as people came to see what was happening. Then I heard Mom's voice from outside talking loudly on her phone. Mom, you need to talk to your dramatic granddaughter. She won't open the door to us. The children are hysterical and they're freezing out here. You have to make Blair see reason. My grandmother had always been the family mediator. She was the one person everyone respected and listened to. Few minutes later my phone rang. Blair, what's going on out there? Hi, Grandma. Gavin's family is trying to force their way into my house. They want to live here for free while they rent out their own place to make money. That's outrageous. Let me handle this. Through the window, I watched Mom answer her phone. I could see her face change as Grandma spoke to her. The conversation lasted about 5 minutes. Then, like magic, Gavin started loading their stuff back into his car. Within 10 minutes, they were all gone. There was a note taped to my door written in Gavin's handwriting. This isn't over. We'll be back. But I knew they wouldn't be back because in exactly 1 week, I'd be gone. For the rest of that morning, my phone kept buzzing with angry text messages from Mom and Gavin. Mom, you're being selfish and unreasonable. Gavin's family needs help. We'll make you do this whether you want to or not. You can't hide forever. You've always been difficult and unstable. This proves it. I turned off my phone and spent the day packing in peace. As I was going through my things, I started thinking about how this whole situation was so typical of my family. When Gavin and I were teenagers, my grandmother had sold some of her jewelry and given my parents $72,000. She specifically told them to divide it equally between Gavin and me. Instead, my parents bought Gavin a brand new car with most of the money, then used the rest for themselves to go on a vacation to Portugal. They didn't take me with them. Instead, they sent me to a sports summer camp, claiming I was too nervous and needed to get my mind in order. I didn't want to go to that camp. I wanted to go on the family vacation like any normal teenager would, but they forced me to go anyway. What about my half of Grandma's money? I'd asked before they left. We'll save up your $36,000 by the time you're ready for college, Dad had promised. When I was 18 and applying to colleges, I asked about that money. We don't have it anymore, Mom said casually. We spent it on Gavin's expenses over the years. That was my college money. Don't throw a tantrum, Mom snapped. We should probably take you to see a psychologist about these outbursts. Gavin had laughed. Maybe she needs to be committed to a psychiatric hospital. That's when I decided I was done with their games. I left home and got into an affordable college on a partial scholarship. I worked part-time while studying engineering and I paid my own way through everything. After graduation, I got a good job at a construction company. I wanted to live with my parents for a few months to save money for my own place, but when I asked, they said no. Gavin and Maribel just moved back in with their first baby, Mom explained. We don't have room for you two. So, I lived with Grandma for 4 months until I could afford to rent my own small house. Since then, I'd been mostly independent from my family. Now, 10 years later, they were still trying to manipulate and control me. But this time I was ready for them. The week passed quietly. I finished packing and arranged for movers to come on Saturday morning, the same day Gavin's tenants were supposed to move into his house. Saturday arrived and at 8 a.m. the moving truck pulled up. By noon all my stuff was loaded and we were heading to my new house. I left my old place completely empty except for a note on the kitchen counter. House is vacant. New tenants can reach the landlord directly. My new house was perfect. Quiet neighborhood, mature trees, friendly but not intrusive neighbors. A week later I got a text from Mom. We came to your house with our things, but there are other people living there. What's your new address? Texted back. Don't look for me. She called immediately but I didn't answer. The next day Grandma called me. Your mother and brother came by yesterday demanding your new address. I told them I didn't have it. But your mother said you were too unstable to live alone and that Gavin wanted to take care of you. I laughed. Take care of me by forcing me to house his family for free. That's exactly what I asked her, Grandma said. If you're so unstable, why would they want to move 3 children into your house? She told me something else. She'd been giving Gavin $1,950 every month for years to help with the children. She stopped immediately. Months passed in peace. I was promoted to senior engineer. Then came Grandma's 80th birthday party. The transcript continues exactly as given, unchanged in wording through the final sentence. For the first time in my adult life, I was looking forward to the future instead of constantly managing crisis from the past. Then came Grandma's 80th birthday party. I debated whether to go, knowing my parents and Gavin would be there, but Grandma had always been good to me, and I didn't want to miss her big day because of family drama. The party was at a nice restaurant with about 30 relatives. I arrived a little late, hoping to avoid too much interaction with my immediate family. But of course that plan didn't work. About an hour into the party, Mom and Dad cornered me near the bar. Blair, we need to talk about Gavin and his family, Mom said. They've been living with us for the past few months. Okay, it's been a disaster, Dad continued. Our utility bills have doubled. We're spending 3 times as much on groceries. The house is constantly loud and messy. Sounds familiar. Mom's face got red. This is your fault, Blair. If you had just let them stay with you like we planned, none of this would have happened. My fault. How is it my fault that you agreed to let them move in with you? Because you forced our hand. Gavin appeared behind them. We had nowhere else to go. You had your own house that you rented out for money. The rental income barely covers our expenses, Gavin said. We need more help. Dad leaned closer to me. You need to start paying our bills since this whole mess is because of you. I stared at them. Are you serious right now? Dead serious, Mom said. You owe us. Other relatives were starting to notice our conversation and drifting over to listen. I owe you for what exactly? For being selfish and making us deal with Gavin's family, Mom said loudly. That's when I pulled out my phone. You want to talk about selfish? Let me show everyone what really happened. I opened my text messages and started reading aloud. From Mom, we'll make you do this whether you want to or not. You can't hide forever. From Gavin, just wait. We'll find a way to make you cooperate. From Mom, you've always been difficult and unstable. This proves it. The relatives around us were listening with shocked expressions. That's not the whole story, Mom protested. You're right, I said. There's more. I pulled up the voice recording app on my phone. I'd recorded the conversation that morning when they were banging on my door, just in case I needed evidence later. I hit play. Mom's voice filled the space. Mom, you need to talk to your dramatic granddaughter. She won't open the door to us. The children are hysterical and they're freezing out here. You have to make Blair see reason. The silence around us was deafening. About 15 relatives had gathered, all looking horrified. Blair has the right to live in peace, my cousin Noelle said. You can't force someone to house your family for free. This is manipulation, plain and simple, Uncle Ronan added. Aunt Celeste chimed in. I can't believe this. Mom tried to defend herself. You don't understand. Blair deceived Gavin. I deceived Gavin by not letting him use my house as free housing while he profited from renting his own place. That's when Grandma made her way over. "What's going on?" she asked. When she heard the recording, her face went pale with anger. "That's enough," she said, her voice sharp as glass. "I'm ashamed of all of you." She looked directly at Mom and Gavin. "You will leave Blair alone once and for all. Do you understand me?" "Mom, you don't understand," my mother started. "I understand perfectly," Grandma said. "And here's something else you should understand. I've been giving Gavin $1,950 every month for years to help with the children. As of today, that stops permanently." Gavin's face went white. "Grandma, you can't." "I can and I will. I've never given any of my other grandchildren that kind of money. And I won't continue enabling this behavior." "The kids need help," Mom said weakly. "The kids need parents who take responsibility for their own lives instead of trying to manipulate and guilt their family members," Grandma replied. Her voice got even colder. "And if Blair comes to me even one more time with complaints about how you're treating her, I'm changing my will. Everything goes to her." The words hung in the air like a bomb. My parents and Gavin knew Grandma had substantial assets. Her house, savings, investments. They'd always assumed they'd inherit everything. Mom and Dad looked stunned. Gavin opened his mouth to argue, then seemed to think better of it. "We're leaving," Dad said. They gathered their things and walked out of the restaurant without saying goodbye to anyone, including Grandma on her birthday. The rest of the party was much more pleasant. Relatives came up to me throughout the evening, apologizing for not realizing what had been going on and expressing support. "We always wondered why you seemed distant at family events," my cousin Thatcher said. "Now we understand. You did the right thing," Aunt Celeste told me. "Nobody should have to put up with that kind of treatment." Even relatives I barely knew made a point of telling me they thought my parents and Gavin had been completely out of line. When I was getting ready to leave, Grandma pulled me aside. "I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself," she said. "Thanks, Grandma. And thank you for backing me up. That's what family should do. Support each other, not take advantage. I'm sorry your birthday party got ruined." "It didn't get ruined," she said. "It got better once the troublemakers left." My parents seemed to have finally gotten the message. My phone stayed quiet. No more demanding texts. No guilt trips. I was living exactly the life I wanted. Peaceful, independent, and free from manipulation. I had my work, my quiet house, and the relatives who actually respected me. For the first time in my adult life, I felt like I could just be myself without constantly defending my right to make my own choices. 6 months passed after Grandma's birthday party, and I was living the most peaceful life I'd had in years. My job was going great. I'd been promoted to lead engineer on a major commercial project. My house felt like a true sanctuary, and I'd even started a small garden in the backyard. The silence from my immediate family was exactly what I needed. No guilt trips. No manipulation. No demands for money or housing. I was finally free to live my life without constantly looking over my shoulder. Then I started hearing updates through the family grapevine. My cousin Noelle called one evening. "Blair, I thought you should know Gavin moved his family back into their own house last month." "Really? How's that working out for them?" "Not as well as he hoped. The rental income wasn't nearly as profitable as he thought it would be, especially after Grandma stopped the monthly money." "What about my parents?" "They're stressed. Your mom's been complaining to everyone about money problems." A few weeks later, Grandma called. "Your mother asked me to arrange a meeting with you. She says she and your father want to talk things through. Even mentioned family therapy." I laughed softly. "I think they're worried about the will." "I think so too," Grandma said. "Then I'm not ready." "That's wise." Over the next few months, I heard occasional updates. None of it was my problem anymore. I started dating a fellow engineer named Calder, who understood immediately. "You made the right choice," he said. "That wasn't family support. That was exploitation." 1 year after the birthday party, I got promoted to regional manager. I celebrated with a small dinner at my house. Grandma, Noelle, Thatcher, Celeste, Ronan. "I'm proud of you," Grandma said. "You built a good life." As the night wound down, I sat alone in my quiet home. 2 years earlier, I'd been constantly managing chaos. Now I had peace. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable bad behavior. My parents and Gavin might never understand that. But I didn't need them to. For the first time in my adult life, I was looking forward to the future instead of constantly managing crisis from the past.